Hello everybody, welcome back to EPIC36 here, as always brought to you by Intel. We're here for the Valorant Beacon event. Of course, we saw a fantastic map number 1 between Gladius and the side of Tabula Rasa. It looked like it was going to be a very one-sided affair after the first half, but Tabula Rasa did eventually end up plugging their way back into a few rounds, but it did finish at 13 rounds to 6 in favour of Gladius. My name is John Pete, joined by the one and only Rook. Rook, I mean, that series, it had a bit of everything, really. It had a one-sided affair, then it had close, cagey rounds, it had ridiculous 3Ks, it had ridiculous Ferrari peaks around corners from Pika, and I mean, that's just set us up for potentially a fantastic day of Valorant.
Yeah, I think it really has, and obviously it's great to see some of these newer teams really show up, and I think we certainly haven't seen the last of Tabula Rasa, or at least I hope. I think we saw some really good gameplay, and I'd certainly love to see some more. So, yeah, set us up for some fantastic games, and we've definitely got a really interesting one for you coming up here. Obviously, the Goose House versus CSGG is sure to be a banger. I've been really impressed by what this CSGG squad has been able to pump on out, and, I mean, everyone knows the Goose House, right?
Yeah, I think sort of the Goose House, the name the Goose House has been somewhat of a staple of the UK Valorant scene, and of course the European scene as well. I feel like everyone's sort of played a 10-man or found an LFG game through there at some point. My second ever Valorant event was casting with the Goose House, actually, so fun fact of the day. But yeah, these are two very, very good teams, and we're going to have a very, very good game. Of course, the Goose House are actually currently the Reign and Epic Land champions. However, it's a very, very different roster from what we saw back then. The only same existing player is actually going to be Mzuu. We know, I think it was maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, the Goose House sort of reworked their whole roster. Yeah. They released everyone. It was only Mzuu that was sort of kept on board to try and build the team around.
Yeah. They were originally... So I think the team was on loan from 10-Star. For some reason, and then they kept Mzuu, and everybody else kind of went off their own separate ways. And they had some great performances, the rest of the members of that squad, but eventually it didn't implode. They kind of drifted apart over the years. You know how it goes. Yeah,
I mean, it gets a bit stale sometimes playing with the same people, and unless you're not being pushed to the max, or if you're not feeling things are clicking, that's why sometimes team changes happen. One thing I want to mention for CSGG is they're actually going to make a team change mid-tournament, which is ridiculous. Now, I don't know if I've got the player that they're changing out correct, but I believe it's Cray, who later on is going to be moving to sort of like a sub role and a bench role, and we're going to have Bensky, who's actually traveling here now. I don't think he could get the time off work to be here for today. To pick up from him, and that's a big pickup for them. Bensky's a very, very talented individual player. He's got experience in sort of this level of competition, and probably got experience at a level slightly higher than this as well, in the likes of being a part of the ESL skirmish event they did back in the day. And they've got the likes of Hypers on this CSSG team as well. You know, not to take away from the likes of 2% and Jake's Tomo and Cray, of course, but those are the two players that I'm really excited to see play. I've known Hypers for a while. I spoke to Bensky many a times, and these are two players that just love Valorant and they love to get better. But as you can see, we've actually got the veto process come up on our screens here, Rook, and oh my days, can I pinch myself? We're playing a best of 1 on Breeze.
Yeah, I mean, I think CSGG as a team are perfectly fine with that one, right? They're very happy to play this map,
they are.
I was not. I'm very surprised to see it in a best of 1. Getting that Ascent banned away right away.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Fracture was left to the last ban as well. Listen, these are two teams though that have played very, very good levels of competition. They've both played and probably will have a very, very wide span and a wide variety of map pool and map veto, instead of comparison to some smaller teams that might only want to play Ascent, they only want to play Bind or Haven or whatever. So it doesn't surprise me that when we see these two teams face off, that they're a little bit more widespread and evenly spread. Coming into this though, the Goose House, I feel like they're going to probably have a little bit of a point to prove. They're what seed are they coming in at? I can't remember what seed they were. I think they're inside sort of like our...
I think they're 7th.
I think they're at least in the top 8 seed, and I think it's, around that mark rings a bell for me for some reason. I'm not too sure why. But they're gonna have a point to prove with this new roster coming in. I don't think they've performed the best across the Beacon events thus far. Not comparison to what we're used to seeing them perform like in CSSG. A bit of a new remodeled worked roster as well. Obviously going to be making a team change halfway through the competition. This is going to be a very, very evenly based matchup, and I'm really excited that we get to see a map like Breeze as well, which is so heavily team-based.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see CSGG there as well. In particular, I'm really impressed whenever I kind of see how much work Shano's doing behind the scenes as their coach. He's been absolutely fantastic. He's been vocal on Twitter and he's been talking about what he's been doing with the team. And he's a lovely fella as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how well this team's going to do. And especially with that added firepower from Bensky, I think this team is potentially one of the dark horses of the tournament. Will they win it all? Maybe not. It's going to be easier said than done with so many great teams here. But I think that they can certainly put up a great performance, maybe pick up maybe second or third.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we never know what's happening. Actually, Bensky's actually in the game.
Oh, he's here.
Bensky must have arrived. Either that or he's playing from home for the first game, then maybe travelling down later.
Got 42 pings, so maybe.
So Cray is playing. I'm not too sure who. I must have made a mistake here. It's not Cray that's sitting out. We'll get that confirmed for you later on. We'll go downstairs and have a chat with the CSSG boys. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned Shano, right? He's sort of been around the coaching sort of ways for ages. I mean, he's been a part of many teams. He was part of the original Tencent, I think it was a Tencent Academy setup, right? The Tap 3 Academy setup, and the actual 10-star team as well at one point. So, you know, having that experience brought to you for someone like Shano, who's got a very, very big brain when it comes to Valorant as well, and he's a very, very calm head as well to have. I mean, and that's when it comes to teaching the side of CSSG how to play pool. I think he was teaching them how to play pool or snooker until like 2 o'clock this morning, so hopefully they're not too tired because of that. But I think we are going to be ready to lock and load into map number 1 relatively soon. We've got the thumbs up, the go-ahead. We're heading into Breeze as we're going to see CSSG CSGG, take on the side of the Goose House. Talk me through this agent select here, Rook.
Well, obviously, we're expecting to see the Viper. You need it to carve up this map, and I mean, both teams opting into the KO makes sense as well, right? Fantastic ability to really get that information and has those good flashes, makes the executes happen. And I think, I would argue that you really need this Chamber pretty much. It's Chamber or Jet, and I think Chamber's just so much better at the moment.
Sorry to cut you off, Rock. This literally here is what we're seeing is going to be a mirror matchup, and this is probably the best team comp you can have on Breeze at the moment. You mentioned the Viper, for example, so good with the placements of the Viper wall, the Poison Orb as well to really shut down B site. It's sort of like a standard practice, really. Since Neon's been brought into the game, like you mentioned, sort of that double duelist role that we used to associate with Breeze sort of has gone out of meta a little bit. We've not really seen Jet too much because just having Chamber is so much more useful. You've got the trademarks to watch flank, you've got the rendezvous to get yourself out of trouble or get yourself back to site, and that Neon on a map like Breeze, which is so big, you can charge from spawn to their spawn within a matter of like 4 or 5 seconds, I think, straight through the middle of the map and break so many lines of sight. And the Sova's just a common practice to reveal towards cave, to reveal mid, backside, whatever it wants to be. So really excited to see this one here on Breeze. Just gonna give you, gonna throw you in the deep end a little bit here. What we got? Who we got taking map number? I say map number 2, but game number 2, of course, here at Beacon.
I'm a sucker for Cray, and I think on this Neon, he's going to have a really great performance.
Yes.
So I think CSGG can certainly take this. I didn't know that Bensky was playing, but since Bensky is playing, I think they take this. I think this is going to be the first upset.
Yeah. I think you know, Bensky is a player that can bring so much to a team. That experience, like we said, he's one thing I love about Bensky is he's very comfortable on multiple different agents as well. He offers so much versatility and variety to the team. He doesn't mind playing controllers, he doesn't mind playing a sentinel if he has to. He's got the ability to sometimes pop off on a duelist as well, but he has been looks like he's been trying to play that controller role for this side of CSGG, which, you know, it allows the likes of Cray to get really explosive on those duelists like Neon. You've got Hypers as well, who's a fantastically smart player on the likes of a sentinel, in particular Chamber, and then, you know, there's not too much real pressure on the likes of 2% and Jake's Tomo as well to really pop off on the Sova and the KO. They can just sort of fill in the gaps slightly, but here we go. You're going to kick things off here. Round number 1 on to Breeze, and look at the aggression already from the side of the Goose House. Marky, he's already up basically onto B site. There is no way these players are going to expect him to be here already. Oh my god, look at the aggression here out of TGH, Rook.
I'm loving it right now, but Bensky holds his ground, gets a quick 2k, and finds even more with Hypers. Now moving into position to give us some help, but Bensky does go down. But look where he is. Oh, unfortunately doesn't get the time to lead the shot, and Marky, the player who really just absolutely ran through everything, is now running through the rest of the team. Does go down finally, but leaves their team in a post-spawn situation where they have that numbers advantage. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, the 2 players though on TJ to be Fo and Sid set up relatively close. The contact comes off. Fo's there to trade. Swing comes through. Headhunter finding the head of the Sova. And that just comes off the pure aggression from Marky, right? Like, Benski's think, okay, great, I've got the two that have entered sight. No, you haven't actually, because Marky's lying in wait behind you somehow from the back of sight already. And that's what this Neon brings, right? It's such a hard, fast-paced, dynamic, movement-based agent that I don't really think has many counters, to be totally honest with you, because you've got the likes of the Neon slide that can just slide through the likes of trademarks and other sort of slow U2 abilities. Even if you get hit by a snake bite as well, you're so fastly out of it, you don't take much damage. It's only the vulnerability that you've got to deal with. So Marky putting it to good use here. Already got the Vandal in hand as well. There goes Bensky, as far as he's going to find one. And already, you can sort of see the way TGH want to play this. They want to stamp their authority on this game quickly, and they want to try and take map presence. But speaking of map presence, it's actually going to be the side of CSGG who have got that towards mid, and they're going to collapse their way and try and stop this aggression out of Amy.
Jakestomer wants to try and push on him. It's caught as they push on out here and sprayed down. What a performance. Easily done, though, as they got such a great grip on that A side.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. This is where we'll start to see how the game unfolds, though.
Yeah.
We're going to start to see the buy rounds come through for the side of CSGG. Here, the bonus for the side of the Goose House. But the fact that Marky's got the Vandal in his hand as well from the last, it wouldn't surprise me if we see an aggressive push from Marky towards mid again, just to try and break the line of sights, catch the players out towards the back of B site, like Bensky, for example, or I think it's going to be 2% here this time as well, and just try and open up one of those lanes early doors and as soon as possible. Time will tell, though. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see how things open up, and there you go. You can look on your map immediately. It's going to be Marky. He just flies himself away, but Hyper's hunting heads indeed, as he's going to find the first onto the chamber, and that's a big, big shutdown there for the side of CSGG. If they allow Marky to get close in behind enemy lines early on, they're in big, big trouble. Yeah,
I thought it was going to be so important for them to kind of get that on through, but I was worried that no one was going to be watching that mid for CSGG, but they do it fine, and Jake's Tomo doesn't manage to find the frag here. It's all up to Cray, who gets full flashed here. This is not where they want to be, and actually, he has to dash out of that one, still gets caught by a little bit of damage. Hypers is up close and personal. Looking for a chance to pick up these frags. So down close. They're just around the corner. Can he find them? As they're starting to push him. Doesn't even get a lick of damage there. As 2% is now going to be that key player. But with the backup from Bensky, they do get some frags. And they can manage to lead it up to a little bit more. Cray takes down one. And this leads to just Foe sitting on the site alone. Trying to find some headshots with that weapon. And just whiffs on Cray.
Yeah, if he finds the kill onto Cray, he gets the Vandal in hand, and it's probably a little bit more winnable and doable in the 2 versus 1, especially when you've got Bensky down to such low HP, and you could try and isolate him out and leave yourself in a 1 versus 1. But first round on the board for CSGG does come through, but the plant money on the bonus as well. They've actually took 2 rifles out of the hands of CSGG, the side of TGH, that is. And that's not the worst of situations to find himself in. They're going to have a lot of investment into this next round, to say the least. You've got, you know, Jake's Tomo and Hypers, for example, who both are full, and they're not going to have the money to really buy into this. It's probably going to be the HUD Hunter for Hypers, and a false buy comes through with just a half armor for Jake's Tomo, so they're going to invest fully into the round 100%. I think we are going to see a tech pause as well on the 10-second mark, as we have some issues with the communication platform for these players. I think it's TGH in general. But let's take a little look at the score while we wait. Sid starting off fantastically well, 4-1. Marky 4-2. I think the big talking point that we're going to have Rook, is that battle in the middle of the map. I think it looks like it's going to be Hypers on that Sentinel of the Chamber, who tries to peek out with the Headhunter or the Vandal, whatever his weapon of choice is, to try and stop that aggression from Marky towards the middle of the map. And if you know, Hypers can keep winning that engagement, it shuts down sort of one of the main reasons for success that we see TGH have on a map like Breeze, just because we know how aggressive Marky likes to play.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see some more as well on how they adapt to that, because obviously as soon as you put in Hypers mid, right, then it's even more worth it to contest that mid. Do they put more players? Do they invest a lot more utility? How on earth are they going to try and counteract that? Because obviously if Marky shut down, I mean, it's not the be-all, end-all, but it makes it much, much harder to actually get onto these sites. It can be so difficult sometimes on this map, especially when it's so big, with players just able to kind of box you out. But at the same time, right, you've got these long-range abilities, you've got the information you can kind of get from the Sova that can give you at least a chance to pick that one up.
I think the issue that a lot of teams have when they have a Neon is the Neon is just so much faster than the other champs, or the other agents, sorry, that they have on their team. And, you know, like Marky here, for example, he's already halfway down the middle of the map before the Viper Ball gets there to cover him. So, you know, it's just sort of going in dry peeking, really. There's no sort of util to play off. You just got to back yourself on pure aim. But, you know, 9 out of 10 times, I would say Marky would do just that. Headhunter, though, in the hands of Hypers once again. Can't find Sid towards the bottom of the tunnel, or tube, should I say, rather. And that's just going to be, for the first time here, a little bit of foot off the gas for the side of TGH. No hyper aggression, you could say, just yet. Taking a bit of map presence, better map control. Keeping the side, though, of CSGG guessing here by the seams of it, Rook.
Yeah, I think it's good, honestly, that they didn't just have Marky run down here, but also it's pretty good for CSGG if they can deny Marky a chance to get aggressive if they've got in his head. That's very, very important too, but I think TGH should just shifting up their style for now.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. Yeah. I think it's something we see some of the best teams in the world do. You know, we talk about sometimes, you know, the best teams in the world just being able to out-aim everyone, but not only that, you've got to be able to have a bit of a change of game plan when things, you know, when push comes to shove and things aren't working. So, Marky now, though, looks like he is going to start to engage on towards the site. It's going to be Bensky lying in wait, though. 2% finds one, finds the second, but not before JKG can trade it out. So, 2-for-1 trade hit. Spike does go down in the hands of Foe. Sid creeping behind enemy lines. Got to land those. He does eventually. It's going to be Cray who falls. JKG does drop, though. Unfortunately, that Viper, Sid, you've got to try and get yourself over towards that site and work around in that Viper's pit if you can, but I think it's a little bit too late. He's going to have to just try and delay it as long as possible. Foe does fall. And although Sid finds one, it's a very, very tough spot he finds himself in. Pop flash around the corner. 2% finds the triple. And that's going to be the second round on the board for CSGG. And the first buy round heads over to the side of CSGG. That should force the economy to slightly drop off here for the side of the Goose House. And I think we've actually got a bit of a few sound issues going on, so we will try and get those fixed as quickly as possible for you. It's esports, it's LAN, right? There's no such thing as LAN without tech issues. I know I have many friends who are admins and tech support, so they will be like, I'm glad we don't do that anymore because it is a very stressful time. And it's always us casters that get blamed for it as well.
Yep, it's always us. I mean, people are always like, oh, start the game. No, we literally have to wait.
I literally, if you look at I have no keyboard here or mouse. I have I have a monitor and I have EPIC notes. And a Lucasade.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yep.
Like, I have nothing here, so don't spam the chat about us, alright? It's not our fault.
You can at the Observer, but it's not even his fault either.
Yes.
So
leave Jay alone.
No,
Jay's a great guy.
He's our boy. He's our boy. If you notice, actually, if you guys are paying attention, when you look at the abilities, it actually spells out his name. He's done that. It's cheeky little.
Very smart.
Very smart.
You know,
it's branding.
It's branding. No such thing. All publicity is good publicity. I think that's the saying, right?
It is the saying. I don't know if I still agree with it, but you know.
Trust me, I haven't had much bad publicity in my life. But anyway, we are going to be heading back into the game, hopefully relatively soon. We do apologise for the break, but let's talk a little bit about the latest stages of the competitions. Of course, we have the best of one stages today, which I think run up until about 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, I think.
I think so.
We
do have a best of 3 today.
Yes, we have one round of best of 3, so you will see a best of 3 on stream. I think that's scheduled to start at 8 PM, which I really hope I'm on for because I love best of 3s. I love building the storyline and the narratives behind it. And we've just got a lot of Valorant to go across the whole board. Let's talk about Beacon in general, though, quickly as well, while we've got some time to. Of course, we know that it's that next sort of platform to build you into that pro stage of play, but these players are, of course, competing to get into the different divisions that have a grand final at the end of the Beacon circuit, right?
Yeah, they're trying to compete for some of that extra prize pool and also chances to kind of qualify and show off just how good they really are. I mean, Marky, unfortunately, a little bit too big for his own boots and gets caught by Cray trying to use that ultimate to get aggressive. And now, well, that push was pretty much shut down by that and a big old shot from Hypers. But still, Sid moves on, drops that Viper's pit, and now this is a big chance for them to rectify the round in spite of losing 2 players. Yeah,
it's a really winnable round. Just with Sid could 1v5 inside of
100%.
the Viper's pit so easily, but the side of TGH, they've got to keep themselves alive just to help out those players a little bit more easily. Cray, though, trying to go hunting. There's the first. Oh, no, it's so smart from Sid, though. I love it. Although Hyper's in that fall, they have no idea Sid is behind. Sid's going to find the first. Oh, he puts the Vipers. Oh, that's so smart from Sid. Sid, what are you doing? Sid, just stay alive in the Viper's pit. That's all you got to do. Such smart play with the snake bite, though, but I think he gets a little bit too overzealous. Just play back, relax. He knew that the spike jiggle hadn't come through. A little bit too hyper-aggressive, you could say there. Bensky, though, shuts him down, gets the spike defusal. But that's a big, big round for the side of TGH to lose. They invest the overdrive in Mark, who gets shut down instantly. They then invest the Viper's pit from Sid. he, unfortunately, although he finds a triple, can't clutch the round. That now allows the overdrive for Cray for CSG to go online, the Viper's Pit to go online, and that null as well on the defensive side of things. So that's a huge, huge round for the side of TGH to lose. Okay, yeah, they do find the kills, they get the spike plant go down as well, so the economy is a little bit okay. You can still buy into this round. However, if you lose this round, especially against the ultimate abilities on the side of CSGG that they have, you're going to be in a bit of a tough spot here, because you're going to not only be 2 rounds down, or 3 rounds down, should I say, you're also going to have a bit of an eco problem on your hands.
Yeah, with so much invested, it really can come back to bite them. But we've seen how explosive TGH can be with Marquee let loose. This could be a bit of a thorn in their backside. But note that there is someone keeping an eye out for this push from that tube. So things could be spotted and could see some quick rotates, but it will be easier said than done with 3 players waiting on that B site at the current moment. And that could be their downfall.
Could be their downfall indeed, but CSGG know that they just can't afford to make any mistakes, really. You know, they've got that. So take the shots. Foe does fall. That's a huge shot from Cray as well. The tracking, fantastic, just to know where he's probably going to be sat facing. You don't need to peek out, though, as Sid's there to trade. And Sid can't go huge, as Bensky's going to trade that straight back out. So a 3 versus 4 here in favour of the side of CSGG. The plant's still not gone down for the spike either, but 2% shuts down Mzuu, instantly refragged by GKG. All of a sudden, it's up to Marquee. Can't find any kills to make the numbers advantage more in his favour. Bensky finds the triple himself, 4th on the board for the side now of CSSG, and they're also going to put the Hunter's Fury online by allowing Jake's Tomo to get the diffuser early. I think it's going to be the tour de force in the hands of Hypers.
Yeah, really, really good heads-up play, honestly, here from CSGG. Just going, okay, we don't need to be too aggressive. Even though we lose our Neon, we got that spray down. We denied the plant. It gave so much time. Time is so important in this map. Because it's so big, because the rotates take so long, CSGG, first of all, they rotated very early. They made a really great call on that. But because of denying the plant, that also meant that people had to play around. There were no longer any walls in the way as well. No smokes that could really deny those lines of sight. And we saw what happened, right? When you try and plant with no utility to back you up, it all falls apart. And they all fell down as a result. Now, I think there was, I don't even know if they used 1 ultimate in that round at all. I think they may have used 1 and generated 1 at the same time. Still a massive advantage in terms of eco in ult, and also now in the guns.
Yeah, timing is of essence, right? Like, it's such a huge thing, not only in terms of, oh, you might get bad timing for a kill, but also just delaying and wasting util, like you mentioned. To deny the spike plot was huge. He knew he had 2 or 3 players over towards CT. 1 was trying to push up as well towards Tube, so it was just a matter of buying time for his team. Although the Viper's Pit is invested from Bensky over towards the B side, it is going to cause a little bit of problems for the side of TGH, but none that Foe can't handle, as he's going to find the first spray down through the actual Viper's Pit towards backside as well. I think he was tracked, though, from the recon dart. It's going to be Bensky to find 2. There's going to be Mzuu and Foe who falls. I'm not too sure if 1 player actually eventually got onto the site. 2 of them actually have it. It's Marquee and GKG. Bensky's got to go huge here. Can he find Marquee? Yes, he can. Oh, the Viper's Spit going to come out as well, as Mzuu eventually does fall. That snakebite usage, though, for Bensky, so smart. He falls, however, but it doesn't matter because Hypers is there with the Operator and the Headhunter to find the shots. GKG falls 5th on the board now for CSGG.
Yeah, really impressed by how well Bensky played around that, honestly. The thing you've always got to keep in mind, right, is just how good Bensky is on so many different agents, as you kind of talked about before. And this Viper here, playing it so well as well. It's not just like, oh, he can dabble, he can play a couple of them okay. He can play all of them really, really, really well.
Yeah, and I mean, I love him on an agent like Viper as well, because he's got such good raw aim ability as well, and he's a very intelligent player. So, you know, the Viper is sort of a perfect mix for him, you know. Surprised we don't see him try and run the likes of Chamber, but I think Hyper's got that locked down pretty damn well, because they're sort of the way you can play around the agents are somewhat similar. But in terms of just knowing when to pop your smokes, when to put your walls up, the poison of knowing when to snake bite as well is just so smart. And I mean, look, let's be honest, Viper isn't the hardest agent in the world to play, but it's very hard to play it good and very well at a high level, and that's one thing that he does fantastically well. So definitely the catalyst thus far for his team.
That's the thing, is I think a lot of teams sometimes already miss out on is having a really good controller who obviously we talked about in the previous game, understands the order of operations, how you go about things, but also playing around that lack of vision on your opponent's side and around the vision which you've obviously placed and kind of playing into and out of your smokes. And I think Bensky, as you said, is a player who just does that so darn well, and I think that's such a benefit for this team as well. And well, CSGG didn't necessarily have the most firepower before. They certainly do, and now Marky gets up close and personal. Cray kind of messes up that concussion there, but they still take him out through the wall.
Cray is just one-tap headshot wallbang someone through a wall while stunned. He's so good that he tries to help the enemy team, and he still finds the kill. Speaking of killing the other team, it's going to be Hypers who finds one with the operator. And although this is somewhat a bit of a throwaway round for the side of TGH, they are going to obviously just have a slight pour by a couple Spectres, a couple Sheriffs here and there. For the side of CSGG, this is just going to keep buying into the confidence and momentum for them. There comes Sid round the corner. I think Sid's actually going to try and find a couple, maybe get that Viper's pit online if he can, but easier said than done. Bensky, though, still has the Viper's wall available for the retake as well, which is a huge bit of utility. And there you go. That's going to cut the whole site completely in half and allow the side of CSGG to worm their way up towards it. Here we go. Hypers is going to fall from Sid, though. Unfortunate timing through the Viper's wall, which does eventually drop Cray, trying to get himself in behind enemy lines if he can. He's going to have Sid face-to-face with him once that Viper's wall falls. He's seen the KO, but he can't find a kill. It's Mzu, although Bensky's there to find one. Can't find any more, though, as we are in a 1 versus 1. Mzu is going to get over-aggressive. Jake's Tomo's there to find the defuse. And that's the 6 on the board for CSGG, even though when TGH get themselves in a winnable round position, it's just CSGG have got the answers, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone on this team is really quite talented. The last time we saw CSGG, this was not a strong squad. They did pretty mid, honestly, if you ask me. I think they got like maybe 9th or something like that. They didn't look like an amazing squad. They have had a massive facelift in terms of org, in terms of coach, in terms of all the players. Obviously, Bensky and Hypers are absolutely fantastic. And I honestly think the 2% Cray and Jake's Tomo really have stepped up and shown us a lot more. We saw some great individual plays from these guys on occasion. I think Cray in particular showed us some absolutely nuts stuff on the chamber. Obviously, he's no longer on that, but we still see fantastic plays from pretty much everyone on the squad.
One thing I want to highlight as well is the fact that we've not seen Marky head towards middle of the map too much to try and get aggressive. That's because I think he's just scared of Hypers that he's going to be lurking there with the chamber, even though he's not actually there anymore. So it was great stuff from CSG to sort of stamp that out early on and not allow TGH to sort of run with what their ideal preference is. And like that's amateurish mistake. Sid's just walking out straight through into a. Oh my god! I thought for a second he was going to hit a no scope through the smoke, but. Yeah, for the side of TGH, they just look a little bit shell-shocked and stuck. And there we go again, it's Mzu who falls. JKG goes as well. Hypers finds the triple. And to be totally honest with you, TGH, they just look so uncoordinated, Rook. It's almost like they've never played a game of Valorant competitiveness together. Like, they looked good for the first few rounds when they were getting the aggression. But as soon as the side of CSGG adapted to that, it's almost like they've run out of ideas straight away. That
is exactly what I was going to say, right? In terms of the level 1 strategy, TGH have a really great level 1 strategy. But go beyond that, they didn't really have anything to build upon, didn't have any way to play around it. And honestly, they could still be running that level 1 strategy. Yeah. I think you should be letting Marky loose in that mid, putting util towards him, giving him a chance to kind of play around it. Let Marky go wild. He's 4-8. But 4 of those kills came in the first 2 rounds. Like, he pretty much set up the entire thing for their team in those first 2. And from there, he's just kind of been left to the wayside. You need to give him the resources to succeed in his job. He's not pushing up high here. Sure, he's got a weapon disadvantage, but he could be doing so much more. Imagine he was in their backline, giving them all sorts of grief.
And they've waited so long that now Cray is holding such a minute angle that he probably finds 1 or 2 kills here towards mid. He's just lying in wait. And yeah, I think it's just become a little bit slow and a little bit predictable as well for TGH, to be totally honest with you. And here we go. Okay, and Marky finally gets up towards Nest, but guess what? You've already got Hypers that has rotated to hold towards CT. Jake's Tomo's pre-aiming exactly where he should be, over towards the top of bridge, should Marky want to sort of advance any further up. And the side of TGH, they're completely stuck. Like, they're completely stuck in the middle of the map. It's all up to Marky to try and make a play with a Sheriff. And if the side of CSGG just hold the default angles that they should do, then they should win this round relatively easy. This is what you need to see though. Finally, Sid going to start to aggress out. What you want to see is Mzuru try and get the information and peek off him, and then Sid play off that contact. Sid, you've got to play off the contact. It doesn't matter though, because Mzuru's there to find the first, and finally, the first door has finally opened for the side of the Goose house, and it is going to be a plant on towards that A spike site. Now, CSGG, they have got more than enough utility to work with. However, they have got foe for the side of TGH with the Viper's Pit available, and he's got a Spectre in his hand. If you're TGH here, do you invest this quite heavily in and try and win this round? Because this is a huge, huge round to win.
I think you need to win this round, otherwise you're getting so little on this half. Sid is in a really interesting position here. Does have that Viper's Pit, as you said, but is not in a position to use it, really. Really wouldn't want to invest it in this position. 2% pushes out and actually manages to catch so darn much. Bensky and the rest of the squad are shutting him down. Foe, yeah, you've got this tour de force, but unfortunately, you're just not allowed to get a single thing going.
It's just such good retake play from the side of CSGG. Even there, like, you know yourself, you've got one of your players that are towards double door, right? So he's got the majority of the information towards backside to say, okay, there's no one here, where could they be? So where does that recon dart go from the Sova? It just drops straight onto the set of stairs by Switch. What does that do? It reveals 2 players, easiest kills of your life, and all of a sudden you're playing a 5 versus 2 retake as opposed to a 4 versus 4. So the side of CSGG, their util placement and their combinations at play as well to sort of really have these agents that are complementing each other really, really well. How many times have we seen Bensky pop a Viper's Wall on the retake, for example, and then the Sova Dart comes through and we see sprays go through the smoke, or we see the likes of Cray, for example, get really aggressive behind it and try and cut off sort of a line of sight. It's working fantastically well right now for CSGG, and the Goose House, they've got to try and find some sort of answers to this CSGG gameplay, because right now it's just being shut down every single time. But they have stopped Cray though, and they have dropped Bensky, which are 2 huge, huge kills here for the side of TGH.
Yeah. I mean, CSGG, they're moving in concert, but right now, unfortunately, maybe an intermission. Some good shots have come on through, but don't forget Hypers is still watching this mid, is still able to cut away a lot here, but JKG takes down that Sova, and now that lack of information is really going to hurt if they play the slower game plan. Hypers starting to move on up, worried that there could be a player in mid, and he's absolutely right for that fear. Sid waiting just around the corner, and could easily play spoiler to the rest of this.
Let's wait and see. It's going to be Sid though who finds the first. Hypers does fall just up to 2%. Probably a little bit less than 2% worth to deal with, as he is going to be in a 4 versus 1, making a 3 versus 1 though, as he does find Mzuru. Sid's there to find the refrag. And we could be looking at potentially an 8-4 or a 9-3 half here. And
last round in the half.
I mean, look at the ultimates, right? 4 ultimates on both sides.
Not bad.
This is going to be a heavy hit round, like last round of the half. So much to invest. This is going to be peak VALORANT, right, where you've got all the different effects plastered over absolutely everything. So shout out to our observer, honestly, who's been killing it and catching all that stuff.
I'm going to be looking my observer dead in the eye and saying, my friend, good luck in this round, because you are going to need it, because there is going to be flashes, there is going to be neon walls, Viper walls, Sova darts and drones, the lot to try and follow. So let's wait and see how it unfolds. But I really like the fact that Shano here, the manager, the coach of CSGG, has decided to take this time out in such an important round. You look at 9-3, okay, bar the 9-3 dramatic curse is a lot better situation to be headed into than 8-4 at 9-3. If you win the first round and you win your buy round, you're looking at yourself being on 11 rounds before they even get a chance to buy in. If you're on 8-4, however, and you lose those first 2 rounds, all of a sudden you've gone from being 4 rounds up to only being 1 round up should they win their bonus. So it's a big difference how different 1 round can make in a game of competitive Valorant. So it's very vital that they try and get something in this round.
Yeah, I mean, literally, 1 round kind of counts for 2 because you didn't get it and they got 1. So simply,
but that's what I mean. So like, if you think about it, like we mentioned, if they go in at 8-4, for example, they lose the pistol, that's 8-5. They then most likely will lose the anti-eco, which will make it 6-8. However, if they then lose the bonus, it's going to be 7-8. They then lose the eco round again, and all of a sudden you've got a tied game within the matter of losing 1 round in the last round of the half.
It spirals.
So it's the domino effect, right, on Valorant is really, really crazy. But here we go, TGH is going to try and storm their way on towards that B site. but they are running straight into Bensky. But I love the fact they followed the Sova drone though. It allowed so much avenue for success because MZuru is going to instantly shut him down. And now they have got the Viper's Pit of their own to invest onto the site. There we go. This is fantastic from the Goose House here. Fantastic execute.
And this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see more aggression. I wanted to see the explosive play from TGH. Look where Marky is. He's absolutely ran up in mid. The rest of the team plays around the ultimates that we were talking about and saying just how important they are. Marky can go wherever the hell he pleases. Cray is going to be such a key player here. He needs to find some frags because otherwise the rest of this team is left dead in the water.
Yeah, this is all on Cray. Luckily, though, he is going to fight foe to start off with. He's only going to have the operator. There goes the overdrive, but that's shut straight back down as MZuru finds the frag. Here come the stuns, though, from Marky. He finds a couple, and all of a sudden, it's all up to Hypers. MZuru finds the triple, 4th round on the board for the Goose House, and that right there is what we were missing from the Goose House. We mentioned, why haven't they sort of really kept up this aggressive style of play that we saw from the first 2 rounds? Listen, it's okay if you take your foot off the gas and try and change things up for maybe 3-4 rounds max, but if you're spiraling out of control, they lost 8 rounds on the bounce, and it took them up into an end to realize, hey, we were being successful while we were getting up close and personal in their faces and they couldn't set up. Why are we not doing it? And they decided to do it on the 1 round where Bensky sat in his Viper's Pit, and it was fantastic. They followed the recon drone in. Although Bensky does find 1 kill, it's instantly traded straight back out by MZuru. They get the frags on site, they get the control. All of a sudden their Viper's Pit goes down and the domino effect happens. It spirals out of control when TGH find the 4th.
Like I said, they work in concert. If you don't let them get an instrument set up, well, they're not going to be able to do anything,
exactly.
Right? Fantastically done by TGH. The problem I have now is going into this defensive half.
Yes.
Can they do the same thing? They can't play that style anymore. They're on the defense.
Well, of course they can.
Well, okay.
Look at Marky. Him and the KO have charged straight down. And it's funny you actually say that. One of my favourite ways to play Breeze on defense is like you're playing on the attacking side. People underestimate how rare and how underrated being an aggressive defensive team is. If you take the middle of the map out of control of the attacking teams, you can shut them down 9 times out of 10. But guess what? You can't shut down Bensky as he finds 2, although MZuru is there to find the refrag onto Cray. In the 4 versus 3, the side of the Goose House have got to do something, and it's going to be starting with shutting down Bensky. They do just that. Well, guess what? Hypers falls out of the equation as well, and all of a sudden, it's up to 2% with 2 players left to deal with. MZuru finds the triple, 5th on the board for the Goose House.
I'm so glad to see this. Big MZuru fan I am myself. Really excited to see him still on this squad. And again, we were talking about Bensky and his flexibility as a player. Now, you think of MZuru pass, and you're thinking, jet player. That's it. And then he really started to branch out. He literally said on Twitter, I'm literally learning every single role as I can so I can become better for the team. And I think, honestly, that shows great dedication, and that's what I love to see from my players. And it gives you such a great understanding. Even if you go back and play the jet, there'll be metas where you can't. And also, you understand what other people are doing, and that allows you to really get inside their heads. And I think MZuru is a player who's really good at that.
And I think that's why I like MZuru on the likes of a KO.
Yes,
Sky,
for
because
real.
he knows what his duelist, as a former duelist, he knows what the duelist needs out of a pop flash or a setup. He knows what the controllers need, for example, to try and set up behind in terms of playing and out positioning your smokes, for example. So having him on the likes of a KO or so maybe like a Sky or a Breach is so useful for his team. But guess what else is also useful? When you've got the Spectres against the pistol, the flash does come through. MZuru is going to run and gun, only finds 1 though, but Bensky and 2% trade it back out, so numbers advantage and complete a side control. Bensky's getting aggressive with it. He's going to charge his way through, but luckily for Foe, he has got the Headhunter to do just that and fall. But this should be a free spike site for the side of CSGG, and they're going to get the spike plant money as well.
Yeah, oh, that dart and the shot from Hypers as well in the nick of time. JKG does not see a thing. Blind as a bat and unfortunately dead as a dodo here as it's foe versus the world.
Oh my, Hypers goes crazy with it, and I don't know, for all of a sudden, the TGH played the first round relatively well. They allowed the side of CSGG to make the mistakes and then capitalize on the retake, but then it was just like they thought they were the ones that had to plant the spike still, because they just collapsed onto the site and lost player after player. And what should have been TGH's bonus round is now going to be pretty much a bonus round for the side of CSGG, and that's the spiral effect. Look, this should have been an 8-6 half now, and you going into your bonus round to try and potentially push things on to level things up at 8 rounds apiece. Now you've got it all to do once again. TGH, they put themselves back in the position to get back in the game, and they just throw it away instantly.
Yeah, big mistakes, unfortunately. We were just hyping them up, and honestly, MZuru's spray goes a little bit better. That's an entirely different round, I will say.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, it really is. He finds the first. Bensky, though, speaking of finding the first, is going to be Marky, who does drop. 2 players, though, aggressively already out in towards the middle of the map. That's 3 players they dedicated towards mid. That's a lot of firepower. But one thing that is a bit of firepower is the Headhunter of Foe, though. Also got the Bucky to work with. Chamber vs Chamber, things you love to see. The Doppelgangers running around on Breeze, but Bensky's going to drop. Speaking of Doppelgangers, it's going to be Sid who falls. Cray, though, all he's got to do is put his wall up, get himself towards backside. It should be a relatively easy kill on the Sova. And as JKG turns into a right-click machine, triple for Bensky. He's going to try and push on and look for a few more if he can. Once that spike goes down, and this is going to be the 10th on the board here for the side of CSGG.
Yeah, it's very unlikely TGH are going to pick this up, right? I mean, the other part you have to keep in mind is now that Viper's Pit also available for the attacking side. I think CSGG very likely to use that in this next round. Getting some damage is going to be helpful, but TGH are really looking at the next round, trying to buy on up. Their economy's starting to come back into a little bit more of a comfortable position. That's something to keep in mind. Mzuru could have the null command here, and that could be good as well. I think Mzuru, again, is a player who's really great at using utility, and I think the null command usage that I've seen from him so far has generally been pretty good. Another frag on the board, obviously, but just finding as much as they... Okay. He found so much here, like so much value. He could potentially
stick it. Just stick it. Just stick it. Just.
He doesn't believe. Tragic.
He didn't have time either, but he is gonna. That's a lot of weaponry to find. He finds 3 kills out of it as well. The Kalat lineup is devastating for the side of CSGG, but if we can take a little look at our scoreboard. There we go. The economy is pretty still flawless for the side of CSGG. They're going to have no problems investing in. It's going to be Foe who struggles as well, though, but he's going to have the Tour de Force and Headhunter in his hand, no doubt, for this round anyway. I think he actually ended up biting Marky in the end of things, but a vital round here, though, for the side of TGH. I think if they lose this, they're going to be forced probably into an eco next round. That allows the side of CSGG to advance onto 12 should they win the anti-eco, and a bit of a tough spot to then face the likes of a Viper's Pit from Bensky. If I'm CSGG, though, I'm probably getting aggressive over towards B-side here and trying to get this Viper's Pit down as quickly as possible in the hands of Bensky. If they can shut down Sid towards backside and get that Viper's Pit set up, they're going to be looking in a very, very good spot here in round number 15.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a simple strategy, but it's hella effective, right? So you might as well just use it. The wall is in place, so they can easily cut off the majority of this. A great usage of the Viper's Bite, but Cray is up, and Adam actually gets such a good angle onto Sid there. And now with that Viper dead, that's going to make that retake even harder. Cray's going to have to sprint out of that one or go down, but actually just peeks out and takes down Mzuru. But the follow-up frags are the most important things there. Jake's Tomo holds his ground, so it's not all bad, but they have not got that spike down, and the res is coming into Mzuru.
I think the most important kill there, though, was Bensky falling with the Viper as well. That's going to allow them no util to get onto the site. I think Hypers has got to try and get aggressive and try and find a peak with the operator. However, you've got Foe with the Tour de Force there lining. Wait, he misses the shot! And Hypers, oh my god, Lord, going nuts with it. There goes JKG as well. How are TGH throwing these rounds away, Rook? It makes no sense. You are letting Hypers, who was 30 HP, find the first when you've got angle advantage. Swing when you've got angle advantage to find the second one. How are they allowing this to happen? Mzuru now, we've hyped him up so much thus far in this first game. He's got to go huge for his squad. Very doable, though. If he isolates Tomo, and he has, that's going to be the first found. He knows Hypers is going to be low as well. Hypers, can he swing with the operator? He's holding the angle. He's going to swing. He misses the headhunter shot, though. This is a huge pivotal round, and Mzuru finds the triple. That was so huge from Mzuru. How on earth has he somehow pulled that out in such a tight spot? I can't believe TGH have allowed that to happen so easily, though.
I mean, I can't believe they found themselves in that position in the first place, right? Mistake after mistake. But karma comes back to bite them, and Hypers is the one who misses the shot to hand the round back on over. Mzuru didn't use the knife. He gave a real opportunity over to Hypers to pick up that round and really start to seal the deal. If this was 11-5, this game would be almost over. But with only a 4-round deficit, you know, TGH, they could put it back.
Well, you now look at the economy as well, right? Rook, we've got a Bulldog invested in from Bensky. We're going to have probably the Tour de Force from a Hyper, so that's one guaranteed investment. Maybe the Viper's Pit comes through too. If you can win this round, the economy's going to be shattered pretty much for the side of CSGG. You're then going to look at yourself maybe on 8 rounds once you've then built up your full economy. And look at Marky. Look at how aggressive this was, what you wanted to see on the attacking side of things. I said I love it when teams get aggressive on the defensive half of Breeze because it shuts down so much potential. And guess what? There goes Hypers. That's going to be the first in the hands of the Guardian for Marky. And all of a sudden, numbers advantage does fall in favour of the side of the Goose House. But can they shut down Bensky, who's being super sneaky beaky like towards Tube? They have got the trademark, though, available there to invest should they want it. And I mean, for the side of the Goose House, no mistakes can be made here. It's vital that they just stay composed, stay relaxed. They've got control over the map. They've got 2 players on A, 2 on B, 1 lurking in around the middle of the map as well. The only person that they're going to have to worry about here is 2% trying to catch players off on the rotation. Fortunately, though, for TGH, none of them are going to be rotating towards the middle of the map.
Oh, big mistake there. Craig gets caught. And I mean, the punish is really great. If you get onto the site, you can drop that Viper ult, and then from there, numbers really don't matter so much. But whether they can or not is a different matter. They use the wall to do it, and look at players getting in position, getting ready to really strike them down, and now they're out in the open. They are, well, like fish in a barrel for foe. With Bensky down with no ult invested, that's really going to sting. Jake's Tomo does actually pick up 2%. Can't deliver on the backup here, and now things are looking oh so dire. Jake's Tomo gets pushed, gets taken down, and another round on the board for TGH.
That's fantastic from TGH. Literally what I said is you don't need to get over explosive and aggressive if you're TGH. You knew that foe was on the chamber. He had the operator locked down towards cave. You had 1 player dedicated towards mid, I think over towards boxes and double door. You had 2 people on B, 1 wrapping through mid. All you had to do was just let foe be the difference maker in that round and play off of the operator. That's exactly what he does. He finds 2, and all of a sudden the 7th round goes on the board here. And that economy, though, it's looking a little bit touchy here for the side of CSG. They're actually going to force it into this round as well. So we're seeing, I think, 1 Spectre and even a pistol in the hands of CSGG. So they're fully invested into this buy round here with a couple bits of light armor. That must mean they're going to try and invest Bensky's Viper's Pit into this round and try and win it.
They've been trying to do that for the last 2 rounds, and it just hasn't worked out. They haven't made it onto the site proper. And that could be a real problem for it. Picks 2% through the wall there, finds another as well. This is looking oh so bad, but they do manage to res 2%. They're on the site. Jake's Tomo here with the judge, picks up 1, almost gets a second.
Yeah, but it's going to be tough findings though. As well, there goes Bensky. There's no more Viper's Pit to invest in. They're just going to follow the recon dart surely towards backside. Or the recon drone, should I say. There goes Hypers. They know 2%'s there. They spotted the contact. They spotted the info. They found the kill. 8 from the board from the Goose House. And let me tell you right now, CSGG, they've got to find some answers here to the Goose House because they are looking shell-shocked.
They are looking shell-shocked, they are looking sloppy, and there's a couple of situations there, right, where they need to be doing the due diligence, making sure that Bensky can get onto the site, drop that ultimate. Just get them a massive advantage, and losing out players in mid early, losing out players as they kind of enter the site, that's really stinging. And I think this is obviously a really good time for a timeout, and maybe reset some of that mental. I think maybe with Shano able to have a word with them, they should be able to set themselves up well. But they are staring down economic advantage and 3 ultimates for the Goose House now.
If you're the Goose House, you don't invest in ult here. Surely you don't. I mean, you could maybe...
You don't have to.
You don't have to, right? Like, unless you really need to win this round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
if you need it, use it.
I mean, the only thing I could think of maybe investing is the Hunter's Fury. If you, like, recon spot, like, 3 players and you just want to try and, you know...
Blast them.
Just chunk them up and try and get that ult back as quickly as possible. If you can take the Viper's Pit, the Overdrive, and the Hunter's Fury, though, into what would be round number 20, if the score is at 10 rounds to 9, and then you invest that yourself to make it 10-10, you know,
it's good.
CSGG are going to be looking at themselves here saying,
what went wrong?
What has happened? Like, how have we let this sort of snowball away? And it all comes down to that last 2 important rounds that we spoke about, right?
Yep.
Can they make this at 8 rounds to 4 going into the next half? Because if they didn't, put it this way, look, yeah, okay, they won the first round in the pistol, so imagine those last 2 rounds were red rounds instead, and you're looking at like a 10-2 or a 9-2 scoreline. You lose the pistol round, and all of a sudden you're in an absolute dire situation, right, because you're playing for your lives. But they've done well to hang in here, TGH, and this is the aggression finally that we're going to see from CSGG. TGH, a little bit of a taste of their own medicine, you could say, from that aggression towards mid. And oh my god, that B site is in complete control of CSGG already. Look at how far back these TGH players have had to advance. It
just ran in. I don't think Foe is expecting Cray to be where he is, and if he peeks out a little bit, his head's going to be taken clean off by this bullpup. Setting Foe for it, tries to find the frag, but unfortunately doesn't get the spray, doesn't get the burst quite how they want to. Concussion tries to go through, but Foe is holding their ground, not hitting the shots importantly, and CSGG, they do get the plant down, very key here.
Oh, the pop flash is fantastic as well. That's going to allow Cray to peek off with the Bulldog to find the first. Cray surely finds the stun. Overdrive going to come back through. See ya later, Sid, as That Neon ult, man, it's so frustrating to play against. It just absolutely zaps you into a new dimension. But Mzuru, trying to be the difference maker once again for the side of the Goose House, has got 2 players to deal with. 2%, he's going to fall. That's the head drop that comes through. Marky, though, trying to get his way behind enemy lines, and he does. All of a sudden, it's a 1 versus 1. He's not going to check the corners. Hyper finds the 11th thrifty round for the side of CSGG. And that is a huge kick in the gut for the side of TGH to lose such an important round.
I really felt like they had it as well. Everything was looking good, and then, well, CSGG, they just sprinted on in, got the plant on down, and had so much going on to deny any sort of push from CT spawn. So they were really able to deny one of the key angles. They couldn't really push in via mid either because of the positioning of the utility, and there's no way they were going to have the time to get in for the flank, and as a result, they were just picked apart.
I mean, it's almost like neither of these teams want to win this map, right? That's what it is. Like, one team makes a mistake, the other team capitalizes, they put themselves in an advantageous position, and they just throw the rounds away. Like, you know, if you asked me at half time or 8 rounds to 2 who was going to win this, I would say, well, CSGG will probably win it maybe 13-5, 13-6. But if you asked me at 2 rounds ago who would win this, I would say, well, the Goose House, they've won 8 rounds in a row or 7 rounds in a row, whatever it was. But now you just really don't know. It's honestly like a coin flip, but Marky gonna find the peak onto Hyper's huge kill. Sid, he finds Cray as well, so numbers advantage once again heavily in favor of the Goose House. Here comes the Hunter's Fury investment, gonna find a couple tags, a couple players fall as well. 3 left alive for the side of the Goose House, 9th on the board.
And there's the aggression you were hankering for, right there. Aggression from Marky, aggression from the rest of the team, and they just push up, take names, and then from there the round is pretty easy. It kind of falls like dominoes.
And it's great as well because the only ult they invested was the Hunter's Fury. And that was just plainly to get information off the tags as well. And that then obviously set up players for more kills. They've still got the Viper's Pit for Sid. They've still got the Null as well for Mzuru. Overdrive in the back pocket of Marky should he want to invest it. Foe one off that tour de force again. Who, I've got to say, it's been quite an intriguing battle between the 2 chambers of Foe and Hypers. I don't really want to say either of them have won the battle. It's been very even, but Marky trying to duck and dodge and duck his way out of trouble. Does just that, has invested that overdrive though into the round. Not overdrive, sorry, it was just the Cray's gonna find the first. So numbers advantage heavily in favour for the side of CSGG, and Marky falls to the Sheriff of Benzi, and Sid gets caught out mid. It's just another round that TGH is just thrown away because they're trying to get too aggressive on the retake, and all of a sudden you've left yourself in a 2 versus 5, making a 5 versus 1 as Hypers cleans up shop with the triple. And we are now on to match and series point for CSGG.
I don't know what happened there, right? We were talking about the aggression, we were saying how good it was, but you need to be measured in it, right? You can't just, you know, chuck it at the wall and see what sticks against a team like CSGG, who are very well drilled. We've seen that so far today, and again, shout out to the coach and shout out to the team and the practice they've put in here, because it really does show, especially on a map that isn't standard, right? They're playing Breeze here. I would love to see what some of their other maps look like. I'm so excited for this squad.
I think one thing that comes to mind when we talk about TGH is just controlled aggression. Like, they either go full steam ahead like a ball in a China shot. They never have that balance.
It's not a scale.
They never have that balance, right? In terms of like okay, let's edge our way into positions and then explode onto the site. It's always like let's explode into our positions and then play slowly onto the site, or let's just explode onto site. It's never like I don't want to say and throw too many shots and say like it's not calculated, but that's almost what it feels like. It seems like there's a little bit of miscommunication going on, a little bit of sloppiness and maybe complacency coming into this, you know, playing against a newer CSGG side. But you got to say though, CSGG in particular, the 2 players we mentioned, Bensky and Hypers, they are playing fantastically well, especially Bensky in that new position, that new controller role for the team on the Viper. Looks very comfortable in it. For the side of the Goose House though, they are going to have to fully invest into this, of course. Probably going to be popping off that tour de force. Sid got the Viper's Pit to work with. All of these ults have to be invested into winning this round.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't invest it right away. I mean, look. No, they haven't invested it. I'm shocked by that. I really think about keeping it for later, but JKG does trade 1 for 1, so it's not all bad, but a little sloppy.
But that's the information, though. To the side of CSGG, that there are 2 towards Elbow. It's most likely going to be aggression over towards the B site. Poison Orb, though, not set up for Bensky here in this default spot where you'd usually pop some Snake Bites to follow. But speaking of popping heads, it's going to be Marky and Sid who fall. And, I mean, all of a sudden, complete side control for the side of CSGG. It's up to Bowen. His teammate Mzuu. Tough spot though, Rookman. Tough spot.
It really is. It really, really is. And again, we just think CSGG show that all of these players can deliver, and Mzuu struggles yet again with that spray. A little bit shifty from them, but the tag comes on in. They now know where Mzuu is, and there's only so much you can do. 13-9 over to CSGG here as they take down the Goose House. And, I mean, it was sloppy. It was a little bit of a beat-down, drag-down fight. But at the very end, CSGG did show us some really great communicative plays.
Well, that was the close game that we thought it was going to be,
yes.
Right? I mean, I think the Goose House are going to be a little bit disappointed with themselves. You know, like, I know him, I mean, I spoke to Mzuu a little bit. I know he holds himself as a very, very talented player, and he hates to lose. He loves to win. It's the standard competitive mindset. But, you know, I'm fortunate that TGH, I think they've got a few calm heads in their camp, so they'll look back at this. They're a team I know as well. I've seen them lose before, and they've come back and rolled a team 30-0 the next game. You know, like, they'll learn from this. Hopefully, they'll go back and watch. Okay, what mistakes did we make? They'll probably look at that mid-map control on Breeze and address it, because I think that's the problem that they had was once the side of CSGG put the likes of, I think it was Hypers for the first like 5 or 6 rounds in towards the middle of the map, they really, really struggled to adapt to it. They didn't know what to do. And it wasn't until the later stages of that first half they thought, okay, maybe we should try and get a bit aggressive towards mid again, and it worked for the final 2 rounds. So hopefully they can adjust that though. But CSGG, Rook, they look very, very good. Yeah,
they really do. Again, shout-outs to a player who probably went a little bit under the radar in Cray. Did go 14 and 17, which is not the best stats, but 7 first bloods to their name. They are a role player. You know, normally these duelists, they don't have to be, right? But he's entry fragging for the squad, and he's doing a fantastic job of it.
I was just about to say, like, one note I've got here was complimenting their retakes and their initial setups. Each individual player knows their role and their agent like the back of their hand, and their agent sort of comps complement each other so well. You know, you've got a very good aimer like Bensky and Hypers on 2 a little bit more relaxed agents that can be played either aggressively or slower paced, and then you've got a very confident hyperactive player like Cray on the duelists. Like Neon, you've got Jake's Tomo, who's a very intelligent player in terms of his placements for his U2 on the recon darts or the recon drones, and then you've got 2% who is just happy to do that dirty work and either find those entry picks or be the first to die if it means getting a bit of info for his squad. So the side of CSGG, they really complement each other so well. And you know, coming into this, I said yesterday on Phoenix Show that if there's a team, you know, outside of the obvious teams that could win this event, I had CSGG right there 100%. Because I said, with these new additions to the lineup, now that they've brought Bensky in as well, that's just going to be another solid player and a bit of experience into their camp. They're going to be a very, very hard team to beat, to say the least. But speaking of teams, we've got lots more action and lots more Valorant to come up for you today. We're going to take a short break, but when myself and Rook are back, actually, I don't think it's going to be one of us, and I think we're going to have the one and only infamous Eternal J joining us on the desk after this short break. Don't go anywhere, because the Valorant Beacon circuit will be back after a few minutes.